Welcome to the Anxious Attachment Solution. I am your host, Life Coach Amber Lynn. I teach women how to take back their brain from anxious attachment patterns with love and compassion. It is my mission to help every anxiously attached woman understand their brain, stop the anxious cycle, and finally feel confident and secure in who they are so they can live the life they want. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Hey there, and welcome to the Anxious Attachment Solution. I am your host, Life Coach Amber Lynn. I wanted to take a little bit of extra time this week to expand on my previous podcast where I said you don't need to take your partner on the emotional roller coaster with you. I want to explain more about this and what I mean by that. Before I start this podcast, though, I want to take a moment and let you know that when I'm talking about relationships on my podcast and partners and who you're with and how to show up, I'm always coming from a place of you being in a relationship with somebody who actually does care about you, who actually does love you, who does actually show up for you. My podcast should never be used to help you stay in relationships that are not good for you and are not actually healthy for you. My podcast is to help you develop healthier relationships with yourself and with a partner who also wants to have a healthy relationship. It's to help you understand what is happening under the surface and learn how to communicate with a partner that wants to learn how to be on this journey with you. Please never use my podcast or thought work against you to stay in places that you do not deserve to be. I truly believe that everyone deserves the love that they want. And people first have to decide on purpose what that love looks like to them. Most people have not taken the time to become aware of what it is that they actually want, especially us with anxious attachment. We've spent the majority of our life just wanting people to like us and worried that if they like us or not, that we haven't actually taken the time to find out what we like, what it is that we actually need, what it is that we actually want. We have these stories about what love should be and don't know if it's our own or if it's what somebody else gave us, society, family, or friends. So I work with my clients very deeply on getting very clear and very specific on what love looks like for them, if they like these beliefs, and how to move forward. As people with anxious attachment, our brain often has created the story of what love is and what it isn't without our actual input. More from a place of survival and fear of abandonment, kind of like our anxious attachment was created. These stories about love got created through relationships when we were younger and as adults. From society, from family patterns, from rom-coms. Most people have not stopped to think about these stories our brain tells us about what love should look like in our relationships. We just believe it. This is called having a manual for what love should look like without actually looking at it and deciding if you like what your brain has made love to mean. So I work with my clients on this. I'm not here to judge. I am not here to look at their brain and ask them if they like what their brain is creating. That's all that I'm here for. I'm not here to judge. Do they like and agree with these beliefs that they have created by their anxious attachment? I teach them how to ask questions to see what they think love is, or what they believe someone who loves them, quote, should do. Often the word should is a cue to dig in. If you think someone should be doing something, ask yourself, why do I think this? And is it true? Is it reasonable? Then they get to decide if they agree and they like this story or disagree, if they want to keep any beliefs or if they want to change them. Oftentimes, our anxious attached brain has created stories about what love looks like and sounds like. It believes that love means our partner will, quote, know how we feel without us communicating. It believes that our partner should be in the trenches with us when our emotions are so up and down, When our anxious attachment gets triggered, they should be there with us, making us feel better. Our anxious attachment brain often tells us lies through thoughts that start with, if my partner really cared, fill in the blank. If my partner really cared, they wouldn't talk to that person who makes me feel insecure. If my partner really cared, they wouldn't do X, Y, and Z because they know how it makes me feel. If my partner really cared, they would be so empathetic when I'm having an emotional meltdown and just take care of me. If my partner really loved me, they should know that would upset me. If they really loved me, we would always feel good and in love and never have misunderstandings or feel hurt by the other person. Sometimes our anxiously attached brain has unhuman expectations of our partners. Like they should be able to know things that we haven't communicated clearly. They should be able to handle our anxious attachment triggers that we don't even know how to handle yet or understand. And they should do it without getting upset at us. Our anxiously attached love story often puts a lot of pressure and responsibility on our partners and on us to be perfect. We have unhuman expectations of our partners and of ourselves. We often make any mistake on either part mean it's the end and that they don't love us and we aren't good enough. Our fear of abandonment often creates a love story out of fear, making any small thing mean the end of their love or the end of our relationship. Often, our unchecked love story is a perfectionist fantasy where no one ever makes a mistake, where there are no arguments, no misunderstandings, where we are asking others and ourselves to show up as perfect lovers. And the first sign that our partners are human, then our brain's like, red flag, red flag. We unknowingly may put a lot of pressure on them to show up perfectly and question their love often when the work is actually inside of us. What does it do to relationships when we are constantly questioning our partner's love? When we doubt that they actually love us? When we let our insecurities be in control? It may lead to a partner feeling like they can never do enough to prove to us that they actually do love us. Because here's the secret. Nothing they actually do can make you believe they love you until you heal these stories, until you comfort the deep-seated fear of being abandoned. Nothing they do can make you think the thoughts you need to think to feel secure, to feel loved and worthy. Just let that sink in for a minute. Nothing they actually do can make you believe that. That belief has to come from you. Those come from you. You have to do the work to learn how to do this and to believe that you are lovable, to believe you are worthy, that mistakes in relationships don't mean they are the end of the relationship. You have to develop your belief about yourself and about love. You have to learn that you are lovable just as you are and that your partner is human too. I know this is the part that is hard. We think and believe, no, Amber, they are the ones that make us feel loved. But I can show you that it isn't true. Have you ever been loved by someone so much, and no matter what they did, you just couldn't reciprocate it? You just didn't feel loved by them. You just couldn't feel it. And they kept telling you, no, I love you, I love you. And they showed up, they did the thing, but you just couldn't feel the love. Like they could do all the things, and your brain still found ways to feel unloved. It's because of the thoughts your brain created. Your thoughts created your feelings. As I reflect on my past relationships, I see how my anxious attachment affected me. I thought I was just an emotional person. I thought that I just cared so deeply. So I felt deeply, and I got hurt deeply. I used to get so upset at my partners for getting upset about me being upset. And I made it mean they didn't care about me. I would get upset when they tried to communicate with me about something I did or something that they had feelings about. I would have big feelings about their feelings and try to do tit for tat, keep count. Well, I did XYZ, I would go above and beyond for my partner, so they should never get upset at me, right? Because I'm over here, anticipating their needs that they didn't tell me they had. They should never ask for anything because I always did the things they didn't ask me to do, constantly trying to anticipate their needs. Guess what? They didn't ask me to do it. Just because I did XYZ doesn't mean that my partner wasn't entitled to their feelings. I took every little concern or criticism to mean I was doing everything wrong. Instead of taking what they were actually saying, my brain made it a huge problem. My anxious attachment made things a big problem, causing a bigger argument, causing disconnection, making me want to shut down and become super independent and never depend on anyone. I could turn so cold, so distant, and then get mad when they were at arm's length. It's really mind-boggling to me knowing what I know now and looking back. It really is a no-win situation when an anxiously attached brain is trying to problem solve on its own. It's like going into the fetal position. Also, I had a really hard time communicating my feelings, my needs, my wants without making it the other person's fault. I didn't have a problem telling somebody how they made me feel. I had a hard time taking any responsibility for how I was feeling. I was not communicating clearly because I didn't realize the actual problem wasn't what my partner did. The problem was what my brain was making it mean. It was my anxious attachment trigger response, and I didn't know it at the time. Now, as I do this work and I work with my clients, I'm always curious about why we think someone else should be immune to our responses. When we as anxiously attached people are affected by others' actions and words, why shouldn't our partners have reactions too? Our big reactions. Like when they get upset that we are upset, our brain makes it mean they don't really care. It makes it mean they don't love us. Or when they shut down because of our big reaction, we make them putting up walls and not getting engaged mean they don't care or don't love us. What if both humans in this situation have developed certain coping or surviving habits to survive emotional responses that are scary or feel big or feel uncomfortable? Most likely, you are just learning about your anxious attachment habits, and they may not even know theirs. But we all have a human brain, a primitive part of the brain, the amygdala, where our feelings are felt, where reactions happen without permission. This part of the brain is the reactive part of our brain. Then we have our prefrontal cortex, the higher part of our brain, that thinks about our thinking, that can perspective take, that can understand. Well, our prefrontal cortex literally gets taken offline when our amygdala is triggered. When they say that the quote, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. It is true because when our amygdala is triggered, when our anxious attachment is triggered, we cannot show up the way we really want. We don't get to choose how we show up. We end up showing up with trauma responses or anxious attachment responses or survival responses. Survival responses of fight, flight, freeze. Fight meaning sometimes fighting with words, justifying, defending, needing to talk it all out, or fighting means sometimes physically fighting. Flight means shutting down or running away from the situation. Whatever is making us feel the urgent panic, or freeze. We just shut down entirely and we avoid it all. They are even now adding fawn as a nervous system response, where we go into people-pleasing mode and do what other people want rather than making our own decisions for our own needs and wants. These responses happen without our prefrontal cortex, which means they happen without our permission. We have to learn how to notice when our amygdala is triggered. And for us, it's our anxious attachment and our amygdala at the same time, and how to calm it down and get our prefrontal cortex back online so we can show up as the partner we want. We have to remember that there are two very human people in our relationships, with two very human brains, with very human survival reactions, each having thoughts that create feelings. But the hardest part of this is knowing you are responsible for your human brain, your feelings, and your reactions. And they are responsible for their human brain, their feelings, and their reactions. I used to think that if my partner didn't respond to my need for answers right now, or my text instantly, if they didn't hurry to console me, if they didn't drop everything to come take care of my feelings, that they didn't love me. They took my questions to mean I didn't trust them, that I was jealous. They took my responses to mean they couldn't talk to me about certain things without a big reaction. So they started shutting me out. So I made it mean they didn't love me, which wasn't true. Miscommunication leads to distance. Distance leads to detaching. Then I learned about the brain. I learned thought work, mind management. I learned about processing my own emotions. I learned that it wasn't anyone else's responsibility to heal me or make me feel better. That in reality, no one could, because no one could actually change my thoughts except for me. Then I started questioning these beliefs of what I thought love should look like, why I thought my partner should do the things I thought they should do if they, quote, loved me. What if my partner needs space after I have a big reaction? Does that really mean they don't love me? If my partner gets upset at me getting upset, does that mean they don't care? If they don't stop what they are doing and put my feelings first, does it mean they don't love me? If they don't drop everything they are doing to handle my anxious attachment trigger, does that really mean they don't care? Or do they not know how to respond because nothing they do actually works? Because how they show up isn't really the problem. This leads me to why I don't think our partners have to go on the mental and emotional roller coaster with us when we have an anxious attachment trigger. Often the turmoil is the inner work we are already doing. It wasn't actually them. It is our anxious attachment cycle or our habits or our insecurities, and only we can soothe those. Now, after we do the work to see what happened with us, why something triggered us, if it is really does have to do with something that has happened or something that was said, or how someone actually treated us poorly, then by all means, communicate clearly about your boundaries. But what I often notice with my anxious attachment is that with these tools and strategies I talk about on my podcast, I'm often able to process the majority of my triggers without my partner going through all the frustration, anger, disappointment, negative self-talk with me. And without me questioning if they love me, without me questioning them to see if they even care, without me undermining the foundation of our love in our relationship, without the pressure of questioning if our relationship is going to last. They don't need to go on the roller coaster of my anxious attachment because they don't need to experience any of these unnecessary consequences of my negative self-talk, my limiting self-beliefs, or my insecurities. When it comes to anxious attachment work, we can talk to our partners about our experiences 1,000% and explain what is happening to them without making it their responsibility to make it better or to fix it. I will talk about this on another podcast. I want you to know that you are worthy. You deserve compassion and grace. I often have to remind myself and my clients that when we have spent the majority of our lives under so much pressure, constant hum of needing to be perfect, that we have often forgotten how to show ourselves mental and emotional grace, and show up for ourselves. So I want to leave this podcast with reminding you, you are not alone. This work can feel lonely sometimes, but it is worth it. The more you do this inner work and heal and nurture and regulate your anxious attachment, the easier it will be to calm your triggers, to show yourself compassion and grace. When you learn how to do this, it will decrease your need to seek validation or reassurance. When we practice thought work and process our emotions, we create a secure base inside of us. It's building that trust again. We become our place of validation, our place of reassurance, and it takes pressure off of ourselves and off of our partners, because we are no longer accepting or expecting perfectionist fantasies and perfectionist partners. We are awake to the reality that there is no perfection in love. Love and relationships are not supposed to be perfect. It is just a union of two very human people who want to support imperfect growth, healing, and purposefully choose love. So if this resonates with you and you want to learn how to do this work, email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. You don't have to do this work alone, and I guarantee you this work is worth the time and the investment. Email me to schedule your free one-on-one consultation to see if we're a good fit, and ask me any questions you may have about my coaching program. Thank you for listening. If you could like and share this podcast, it would really help it reach the people that it needs to most. I truly appreciate every single listener. I am so thankful to have this community where I can support you on your anxious attachment journey. Please feel free to email me with any questions you have about anxious attachment at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. Thank you again for being here today. I will talk to you soon. Thank you for joining me today. You are going to want my free guide on how to calm your anxious attachment. So head over to my Instagram, Taking Back Her Brain, and grab it. If this podcast resonated with you, I would really appreciate if you would rate and share it. If you have any questions or want to know more about how to work with me, I would love to hear from you. You can email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com. Can't wait to hear from you.